Hello, beautiful souls. This is Pauline Marie. Welcome to Cosmic Currents. This is a space for energetic tune-ups through alchemized embodied teachings born from my direct experience and grounded in loving wisdom. I offer and guide you in the process of becoming. My mission with this channel is to support you as you step fully into your highest expression and cultivate a consciousness, a sacred relationship with the earth. So we have a great cosmic current this week that is being inspired by the Taurus New Moon that is upon us on Saturday, May 16th, 2026. So through that Taurus New Moon, as it arrives, it has an invitation to move from what has been kind of really saturated individual consciousness and to move us into group consciousness. So this is not simply a new beginning like most new moons. It's rooted in some personal stability and material security while we initiate this new earth initiation and this group consciousness. It's a quantum leap into consciousness that asks us to remember that we are part of something greater than ourselves. So I hope you stay to the end, as this current is deeply influenced by this new moon, and it's at 25 degrees. And it's alongside Mercury conjunct Uranus. So it's bringing sudden insight. It's bringing unexpected change and awakening that, that's an exciting kind of mouthful for us to unpack here. So Taurus traditionally asks, what do I have? What do I possess? It's an earth sign. Taurus seeks stability, grounding, security, beauty, nourishment, a deep connection to the physical world. It is the energy that teaches us how to root ourselves into life and to cultivate sustainability and to create lasting foundations. Yet this new moon transforms the question entirely. The focus is no longer on possessions, but on values. What do we truly value? What are we here to cultivate together? And this is the shift from that material attachment into sacred stewardship. So it's from owning the earth to consciously caring for it and for one another. And this is influenced through the Sabian Symbol at 25 degrees for Taurus, which is a well-kept public park. So what is this all about? The Sabian Symbol speaks to communal experiences, shared stewardship, and the realization that collective effort creates resources and beauty that no individual could sustain alone. So in this, a park exists because people came together with a shared vision. Someone dreamed it, someone organized it, someone maintained it, someone volunteered in service to the greater whole. This symbol reminds us that civilization evolves through cooperation, through teamwork. We create abundance, harmony, protection, and beauty for all. Yet this path also asks us to surrender something that's deeply rooted within the ego. That's the belief that we exist separately from one another. So the deeper teaching here of the Sabian Symbol, Taurus at 25 degrees, is that self-discovery happens through interaction with others. We discover our gifts, our strengths, our wisdom, our purpose, and that's through participation in community. Isolation usually does not reveal the fullness of who we are. So it's through collaboration and shared experiences, conflict resolution, our service, and collective vision that our soul evolves. So this week's cosmic current is discover a path in service to others and inspire a sense of teamwork. This is the movement from me to we. And the download I received on this is that this Taurus New Moon is a quantum leap from individual consciousness into collective consciousness. We're being asked to release blame, guilt, possessiveness, and separation, and instead remember the sacred power of cooperation, stewardship, and service to others. The new earth is not built through competition or control, but through shared vision, heart-centered leadership, and conscious teamwork. As we align with what we truly value rather than what we possess, we rediscover that our greatest fulfillment comes from contributing our gifts to something greater than ourselves. Beautiful. So as we move into this new earth frequency, we're learning that there is a higher spiritual fulfillment that's found in becoming this component of something larger than ourselves. This team consciousness carries a deeper sense of peace than the ego accomplishment could ever achieve alone. The group mission becomes more important than the individual recognition. So this is not always easy. Group consciousness challenges the ego. It asks us to release all of that blame and guilt and control and competition and possessiveness. It asks us to take responsibility for our emotions while learning how to cooperate with others. And it asks leaders to lead without becoming the victim or the bully. And it asks participants to contribute without resentment or judgment of that leader. So one of the strongest teachings moving through this current is that lesson of blame and guilt and scapegoating within collective consciousness. So, as we're moving into that group awareness, we inevitably encounter leadership dynamics. And it's like in almost every group structure, the leader becomes more vulnerable to projection. Typically, almost always, the leader is scapegoated. We blame the leader for failing or for doing things differently than how we personally believe they should be done. So this blame and guilt dynamic, this scapegoating, martyring, self-sacrifice consciousness now must be viewed differently. We're being asked to evolve beyond these energetic patterns, because the blame and the guilt, they always create a worse result than when used within, or if it's used within relationships and communities or collective missions. A worse result is at play. Because whenever we scapegoat another person or blame someone else, we separate ourselves from any responsibility and from unity itself. So likewise, whenever we feel scapegoated, something within the energetic field has become distorted, and it must be addressed consciously. Because guilt and blame are not healing energies. They're corrosive energies. They're poisonous to the harmony of the collective field. So this new moon asks us to become deeply aware of how we respond when others lead differently than we would. When we enter a group project, community, a vision, or a collaborative mission where leadership exists, we are spiritually tested. We are shown how well we can take responsibility for our own emotions, expectations, reactions, and perceptions. So can we remain devoted to this larger vision without collapsing into criticism? Can we resist the temptation to blame when friction arises? Can we support collective evolution without projecting resentment onto those carrying responsibility? So this is one of the great initiations of this moving from ego consciousness or the self or the individual consciousness into group consciousness. So likewise, those called into leadership are learning how to guide without becoming the martyr, the victim, the rescuer, or the controller. True leadership within the new earth requires emotional maturity, energetic integrity, humility, and heart-centered stewardship. The evolution of civilization depends upon this and our ability to cooperate consciously. So this group consciousness can't emerge where the blame and guilt have dominated the field. And harmony is built through that responsibility, that compassion, that accountability, and a shared purpose. This is the sacred work. So the more we expand beyond this individual identity into collective awareness, the closer we move towards divine consciousness itself, or God consciousness. So this new moon in Taurus is grounding this awakening, and it's through the 2D field of living consciousness. The 2-dimension, octave 6, came out in the reading, and it's what I call the sanctuary. And this octave reconnects us to instinct, embodiment, nature, sacred relationship as an inner and outer sanctuary. So Taurus here reminds us that the earth itself is alive with intelligence. All of the earth, water, fire, air, those things communicate through vibration and resonance, and our bodies are tuning forks within this living field. So the sanctuary is where consciousness remembers how to shelter, nourish, sustain life through these sacred relationships with others, with the land, with ancestry, with future generations. So this is the field of stewardship. So within this octave, life is not forced or controlled. It's lovingly tended. It's protected. It's watched over. Ancient intelligence moves through this and moves through the soil, moves through our bones, moves through our breath. It is the remembrance that we belong to one another and to the earth itself. So this current restores embodied consciousness. And when we're in our light aspect with the Taurus energy, this brings about harmony and peace and protection and nourishment and care. And if we're in its shadow energy, it can manifest as possessiveness, attachment, control, and fear of loss. So this new moon asks us to make the quantum leap beyond that possessiveness and into a values-based living. So we had some animal guides come out to support this current, and they reveal how we can move through this transformation. We had the oyster present here representing the water element. The oyster is teaching patience and the revelation of our kind of inner treasures, right? That inner sanctuary. So many of us have hidden our gifts for whatever reason, right? Or we've doubted our value, or we have kind of protected our deep desires from the world, just based on circumstance or our environment or our upbringing. Yet this current asks us to share what has been concealed. And that's the energy of the oyster, right? Is all those gifts that are saved or held within the shell of the oyster. They're concealed, but now we're being asked to share them. Our gifts are needed within this collective awakening at this time. We then have the energy of the lamb. She's representing earth and carries that vibration of peace. So it's a message that can only be heard in stillness. So this is teaching us that inner peace that creates peace in the outer world. This is through that quiet listening, that humility, that reverence, that we receive guidance from the soul or from our higher self, from spirit, from life itself. So this is that invitation into stillness. We have the elephant out here carrying the fire element, and the elephant arrives as that remover of obstacles, but also brings wisdom and strength and momentum for any feelings of uncertainty about our path of service. So the elephant reminds us that we are capable of moving beyond any limitation and discovering that deeper purpose that is calling us forward. That deeper purpose is that inspiration that can inspire us into the sense of team, the sense of teamwork. And then lastly, we have the bee representing air. So beautiful representation here of embodiment of teamwork and sacred service. And those bees, they thrive through cooperation, shared mission, creativity, and devotion. They remind us that service becomes joyful because they're connected to a collective purpose. Yet the bee also teaches us balance, because balance in everything is key here, right? Balance in our masculine and feminine energy is foundational to this. But just balance of, because if we feel overworked or disconnected from our inspiration, we get exhaustion and resentment can emerge. So we're asked here to contribute, discover our path of service and inspire a sense of teamwork. Yes, but contribute from alignment, not from a state of depletion. So together, all of these animal spirit guides and allies, they reveal this blueprint for the new earth. And it's about patience and peace and wisdom and teamwork. So let's take a look at the archetypes that came present in this current, in this reading that came out. And strongly present within was the archetype of the offering. So this is something that's being asked of us now. It's something to give for the sake of that greater whole that we talked about. And perhaps it's our time, maybe it's our gifts, maybe it's just our creativity, our compassion, our leadership, our willingness just to participate more fully in community. The offering really is unique to each of us as individuals and can encompass any of those things. And I'd like to point out here that the word sacrifice, it shares roots with the word sacred. So when we sacrifice something for ourselves, we're actually in service to something greater, and it's a sacred energy. And we don't become smaller. We actually don't compromise, our light or our power or our alignment or our purpose. Service is not depletion if it emerges from the soul. It's nourishment. So this is where we can move beyond giving with expectation, beyond keeping score, beyond transactional energy. True offering emerges just from love and shared vision. So the other archetype that was present here that came out in this current for our reading and our download today and activation was the castle. The archetype of the castle is a place here. It represents both abundance and illusion. So it symbolizes wealth and achievement, security and power, yes, but also the walls we build around ourselves through that attachment and material identity. So this perfectly kind of speaks to that Taurus energy. That Taurus energy that's asking us now to examine that castle, to examine what we build around ourselves through attachment and a material identity, to examine what we cling to. So are we protecting our possessions, or are we honoring values? That kind of becomes the question to sit with here. So the castle, it becomes wisdom when we visit its throne, without becoming trapped inside its walls. So it's great. It's okay to have this castle, but it's something we visit. It's not something that we want to be trapped inside. So this new moon asks us to release that illusion that the accumulation of things alone is what creates fulfillment in life, because it doesn't. What truly matters is what we contribute, how we cultivate this awareness, this shared vision, our creativity, what we create together. So this is the dynamics of the new Earth threshold. And it can, I guess, just be clearly stated as it's a movement from ownership to stewardship. It's from competition to collaboration. It's from isolation to communion. And it's from ego identity to this collective awakening. So the more we align with service and cooperation and shared purpose, the more we remember that we're not separate from life, that we are life expressing itself through one unified field of consciousness. So perhaps this is the deepest teaching of this Taurus New Moon at 25 degrees, and in discovering our path and service to others and inspiring a sense of teamwork, is to remember the teachings that peace is never created through control, abundance is not created through possession, and fulfillment is not created alone. So as we build this future through some sacred teamwork, we remember that our body is its own tuning fork within the living field of consciousness. Though through sensation, resonance, and vibration, the body continually communicates with us. It's telling us. It communicates also with that 2D elemental intelligence of earth, water, fire, air, of the animal guides and spirits. So when we slow down enough to listen, the body becomes that sanctuary of guidance. It helps us discern what is aligned and what is not. It tells us. The body will tell us. And Taurus here reminds us that that embodiment is sacred. Peace shouldn't ever be something that's something we think about, right? It's something we feel. It's something we regulate. It's something we anchor to in the nervous system. It's something that we embody ourselves, right? Regardless of what's going on in the world, we have to attune ourselves to that. That harmony is internal. And then we can begin to radiate that coherence outward into our relationships, our communities, and that collective field itself. So I really, really desire and hope for us and the collective that this new moon energy in Taurus begins to restore this peace within your body, clarity within your mind, and this devotion within your heart. And may you remember that your gifts were never meant to remain hidden, but to be shared in service to the collective awakening. And may you walk forward with humility and courage and trust as you discover your sacred role within this greater whole. And may we all learn to build this new earth together through compassion and stewardship and unity and love. So I really, really appreciate you being here and your energy. And if you would be so kind, it would be great if you would like and subscribe so that others may ride the currents. Until we meet again, much, much love.